Merry Christmas to all that celebrate and happy holidays to all that don't. My Christmas present for you all is to talk about Chris in his Railway MV and how it connects to his Gemini rising. Let's go. I am using traditional astrology for this, and this is for delusional purposes only. Don't take this too seriously. Now, this is Chris's natal chart, and as you can see, he is a confirmed Gemini rising, which means he's ruled by Mercury. Now, the benefits and the beauty of being ruled by Gemini is you have this natural element of fantasy in your aura and your physical beauty, which, if you can tap into what certain fantasy aesthetic suits you, it can really add to your aura and to your presence in a way that comes across as otherworldly or ethereal. If you are a Gemini rising and you tap into a fantasy aesthetic that really suits you in your appearance, it will make you memorable and it will make your presence known. Now, to figure out what type of fantasy aesthetic suits you, also, this is not just for Gemini risings, this also goes for air risings in general, but I just see it a lot more obviously with both Gemini and an Aquarius rising. But if you are an air rising, you would look to your moon and Venus to see what type of fantasy aesthetic specifically would suit you. Now, the horror vampire wolf aesthetic works really well for Chris in general because of his Scorpio Venus, which, as I've mentioned, is his singleton. So that's a really noticeable part of his natal chart that really adds a sense of darkness and broodiness to his fantasy aesthetic. So, therefore, the vampire wolf concept just really suits him. Also, low key, like, I know that the song is very sensual and can be interpreted that way, but when you combine the music video with the song, I think it's actually a really great analogy for addiction and obsession, which just, I guess, makes sense with the vampire concept, but also makes sense with Chris having a Libra stellium with a Scorpio Venus and a Sagittarius Mars, who are the star signs that are prone to excessiveness. They do tend to have that kind of all or nothing mindset, which I think just really enhances the element in that music video. And I feel like Chris really shined in Railway specifically because with his Gemini rising, he was able to incorporate those tendencies he has in himself, that dark side, quote unquote, which he has, and be able to bring that out in an element, in a fantasy aesthetic that really suits Bane Chan's natural appearance and presence, which is, of course, like the, vampire wolf, more horror, darker, supernatural concept. So I've noticed with Gemini risings in particular, there is always a bit of a contrast with your features. You will always have either a physical trait or a complexion, or you will have some type of physical feature that contrasts against the rest of you. And if so, really try your best to highlight and bring it out because it will add character to your appearance. I think that's the main reason why I really love it when Chris naturally has his dark hair, because he does have like a winter complexion and therefore have high contrast features. I personally feel that when Chris has his dark hair, it really emphasizes and highlights his feature more. Also, don't be afraid to go with texture and accessory. Unlike a Scorpio rising like me, who really does fare well with a monochromatic approach to their appearance, Gemini risings, you can really get away with accessorizing and almost having a type of maximalist approach to your appearance. Also, Chris in general, because he is a Libra stellium and just like in general, he just has a very beautiful face, like to look at, right? He's a gorgeous man in general. So, like, him adding these accessories, like particularly the face chain, just makes him so much more sexy. It just adds a layer of sensuality to his appearance. Again, really embellishes that fantasy aesthetic he like incorporates into his appearance. I use this photo because this was the music video that got me into Stray Kids, that made me a stay, and also made me Baez Bainchen, and this is how he entered into my life. This specific music video, I remember with my sister actually at the time, I was like, who is this man? Like, he looks like a wolf. What is happening here? And then my sister Andy was like, oh my god, you don't know Stray Kids? Like, how do you not know that? And then when she said, oh, did you know like Chris is Australian? I was like, what? No. And then I just spiraled, and almost 5 years later, I'm here. So I do want to talk about Sagittarius, his Sagittarius Mars, because I have noticed that with like Mars in men particularly, I think it is a little bit more noticeable in their appearance. And I think particularly in this photo, which when I saw this on Pinterest, I was like, oh my god, wow. I was like starstruck. But when I saw this photo, I was like, this is really reflective of his Sagittarius Mars, when he has this very slightly disheveled, rugged appearance. Again, with the fantasy element, he looks like a character in a dark romance fantasy novel. Like, he looks like a side character in like a werewolf series, you know, like the originals or something. As I have mentioned, Gemini risings look incredibly great with texture, with eccentric designs and concepts. Now, Chris is lucky enough that he has found the right style for him at a young age. I can tell that Tumblr definitely had an effect on his personal style. And if you're a Gemini rising, particularly if you do have like water or fire in your natal chart, don't be afraid to be slightly messy. What I mean by that is Chris as well looks really beautiful when he's not, I guess, and for lack of a better term, dressed in a clean manner. When his hair is slightly messy, when he's in casual clothing like this. Because I think it just adds a very effortless, nonchalant type of beauty to his appearance. You know, the whole like, oh, I just woke up and I randomly look like this. Like, I remember distinctly watching this live, and I remember the entire time thinking, he looks beautiful in all of his lives, but why wasn't in this live it was hitting me the most? Why was I so drawn to him in this live? And that's when I was thinking, oh fuck, you know, here's me being a Twilight stan. Here's why. Because he reminded me so much of Jacob Black in the outfits he wore in Twilight Eclipse. Which makes me wonder if Chris is a fan of the Twilight series. Like, that's just what I'm so curious about. Like, can someone win a fan call and ask him? That'd be really nice. Because I really hope he is. I think he would be, and I think he would be Team Jacob. Also, if you have a Gemini rising and you have a stellium in a certain star sign, it might benefit you to figure out which physical part of the body is associated with that star sign and enhance it. For example, Bain-Chan having a Libra stellium, Libra rules the back. And as you can see, Chris has the most defined, like insanely built back muscles, which is just even more accentuated by the claw marks and the veins. And let me tell you, this is not altered. His back actually looks like this live. Like, this is not fake. So if you are a Gemini rising, pick a fantasy aesthetic that suits you, that matches your natal chart, and that you genuinely enjoy and feel you look beautiful in. And by doing that, you will make your beauty memorable. You will make people remember you and your presence weeks or months after meeting you. Enjoy, and let me know if you want to see these type of videos more in the future.